which is why they rejected plural marriage too, by the way. Read the writings of Origen. Read the writings of Chrysostom. They admitted that all the disciples had more than one wife. But they're behaving like that Jew Jacob, who every time he saw a pretty girl just took a pretty girl. They're just behaving like that fleshly, carnal Jew Jacob. Read their writings, and you'll find out where this mentality comes from. And so it is with Pesach. And so it is with Pesach.
So it is.
The true believers took the body and the blood once a year. The heresy and the controversy that came into the Corinthian congregation to test them, to see what shalichim were approved and what shalichim were disapproved, centered around, there was a special term, there was a special name they used to use, and it slips my mind right now. I believe it was, they called it, named after the 14th day of the month of Aviv. I believe they called it Carantism, or you have to look it up. It had to do with a Latin term for 14. Okay, if you know the Latin, if anyone knows the Latin term for 14, and this whole controversy, and those like us who celebrate the body and blood of Yeshua once a year, were known basically as the 14th ones, those who follow the 14th, whereas everybody else who followed the so-called church, separate from the historic people of Israel, according to their own false theology, were called those who celebrated the Lord's table, the same table Yahweh warned us against in Isaiah chapter 65. If you find out the Latin word for 14, you'll see it right there.
I'm about to find out right now.
Yeah, you'll see it right there. Everyone who believed what Yeshua believed and what he taught us to follow was labeled by the church as a 14th one. Bruno, oh, you only take communion once a year at Pesach? Huh, you're one of those 14th ones. Ray, you're one of those? Huh, you're one of those 14th ones. They actually called us a 14th one. We became associated with the number of Pesach because we wanted to obey the Torah the right way and not every Sunday like they told us to take communion.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Wow is right.
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So, let's get back to verse 26. As often as you eat the whole wheat unleavened lechem and drink the blood, the wine, you show Yeshua's death till he returns. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So it is the Torah who tells us we do this once a year. We do not allow elder boards, church councils to tell us how often to celebrate the body and blood of Yeshua. We celebrate the body and blood of Yeshua once a year, not as an event divorced from Pesach, but it's whose very essence is incorporated into the Pesach celebration. Can I hear a good amen?
Amen.
I said a good amen.
Amen.
Can I get a witness?
Hey!
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I got a witness over there. You seem to be a 14th one, Brother Darrell. Are you one of those 14th ones?
Guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. 14ers. Sweet 14. You've heard of Sweet 16? In Israel, a Sweet 14. Yes, I confess. Brother Wilbur, I'm one of those 14ers. That's right. Once a year on the 14th, I get into the body and I get into the blood and I allow the body and the blood to get into me. Why? Because I'm one of those 14ers. I confess, guilty as charged.
Yeah.
Can I get a witness?
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
So now watch this, verse 27. Therefore, when you see the word therefore, what's the first thing you should think of? What is it? What is it? Therefore. What is the bread of Yeshua, the body of Yeshua, the blood of Yeshua there for? Whoever shall eat this whole wheat unleavened lechem and drink the cup, the dam, of the Master Yeshua, a.k.a. Yahweh, unworthily shall be guilty of the body and dam of the Master Yahweh. I submit to you in context. Turn to your neighbor and say context. I submit to you in context, those who do it every week as a learned religious ritual or behavior have not discerned what they're doing, why they're doing it, how to do it, and they are guilty of abusing the holy body and the holy blood of Yeshua by taking a kadosh once for all event. Yeshua bled once. Yeshua died once. He did not die every week. He did not bleed every week. You take the kadosh, the most kadosh, holy atonement that was laid and established and designed and created and destined from the foundation of the world, and you make it into a weekly learned religious experience, just like at Sunday church bulletin. Hey brother, do you have this week's bulletin? Do you have this week's? Who brought the cake this week? Who brought the Lord's body this week? Did you buy the Lord's body? Oh, I didn't have. Do we have enough juice for the Lord this week? Will we have enough blood this week when we drink the Lord's blood? It's, oh no, we'll have to wait till next. We have leftover. That's even worse. Now, Pastor, we don't need the Lord's blood this week. We have some of the blood in the closet. We have left.
Sad. Y'all, that is so true. Every word of it.
Can you imagine that?
So true.
Can you imagine that? We have blood left over from last. We don't have to go shopping this week. Some of the blood is still in the closet.
That is
Not even fresh. It's not even holy. It's not even sanctified. Without the blood of Yeshua, you'll never see heaven. You'll never live eternally. You'll never have your sins pardoned. It's all about the blood. It's all, everything you are and hope to be is because of the blood
That's it.
of Yeshua.
He keeps her for obedience.
And to tell me that we have enough blood this week, we didn't have to go shopping, we have some left. Yahweh doesn't give us leftovers. His sacrifice was once for all, and if he is able to forgive to the uttermost those who come to Yahweh through him. And to those who look for him, he shall come again, apart from sin, unto physical deliverance. Don't you tell me we're drinking his blood every week, making a learned religious Catholic experience, bringing that Roman Catholic tradition and calling it Protestant and sanctified just because you're not part of the papacy, and just because you're not practicing papists, you're going to call it sanctified? Why is marriage such a kadosh thing? It's an eternal, once-in-a-lifetime event that's supposed to be from covenant to death. Why is the birth of a child so special? Because it doesn't happen every week. It's a once or twice or 3 times in a lifetime event. Am I right, Bruno? The birth of a child. And to take the once and for all kadosh death of Yeshua HaMashiach and make it a common thing, and invite the precious blood-bought flock of Yeshua, which he purchased with his own blood, to invite them to God's table in direct opposition to Isaiah 65:10. Remember Yahweh? 65:11. Remember Yahweh warned us, Bruno? If we're going to be his disciples, we're going to have to leave the Lord's table and come to the Kadosh mountain of Yahweh. And part of the Kadosh mountain of Yahweh is being 14 people. Part of the 14. You're a 14er, I'm a 14er, she's a 14er, he's a 14er. Turn to your neighbor and say, you look 14.
You look 14.
You look like a 14er. And in the ancient church, that was a curse. That means you were one of those followers of the Jews.
Wow.
Right? You got that Jewish, look at you. Jewish ropes, Jewish hats. I suspect you don't come to the Lord's table every Sunday. I've got a sneaky suspicion that you're one of those 14ers. That's what they labeled us as, Wilbur, in the early church.
14.
Rav Shlomo says, don't worry, the controversies, the heresies of the Lord's Supper have come in to see who in this crowd knows about Pesach.
King Dasim. King Dasim.
King Descendants?
King Dasim.
Which means 14.
14.
Okay, that's what they were called.
King Dasim.
King Descend. Okay? King Descend. There was a special name for people like